Welcome to the Science of Success. Introducing your host, Matt Bodnar.
Hey, it's Matt, and I'm here in the studio with Austin, and we're excited to bring you another business episode of the Science of Success. We just launched season 2 of our business episodes. If you want to learn more about what these are and why we're doing them, be sure to check out the season 2 teaser that we recently released. And with that, Austin, tell us a little bit about how these episodes are different than a traditional Science of Success episode.
Yeah, so it's important to note that you're still going to get all the great content you've come to know and love from the Science of Success every Thursday. These are bonus episodes with added value, specifically centered around business. We've interviewed some true titans of business in multiple industries from multiple walks of life. And what we're going to focus on are the habits, routines, and mindsets that made them the successful titans they are today. That said, these are lessons, routines, stories, best practices that anyone can learn from and apply to their life. You don't have to be a business owner. You can be an employee, you can be a student, or you can, of course, be a business owner. But come check them out. You're going to come away with a ton of valuable takeaways, but we do have a bit of a business focus on these specific business episodes in season 2.
With that, let's get into the episode.
Welcome to the Science of Success, the #1 evidence-based growth podcast on the internet, with more than 5 million downloads and listeners in over 100 countries. In this episode, we share how to feel bold, powerful, confident, and alive, and get the motivation you need to finally take action and make your goals and dreams a reality. Learn to believe in yourself with our guest, Evan Carmichael. Are you a fan of the show, and have you been enjoying the content that we put together for you? If you have, I would love it if you signed up for our email list. We have some amazing content on there, along with a really great free course that we put a ton of time into called How to Create Time for What Matters Most in Your Life. If that sounds exciting and interesting, and you want a bunch of other free goodies and giveaways along with that, just go to successpodcast.com. You can sign up right on the homepage. That's successpodcast.com. Or if you're on your phone right now, all you have to do is text the word SMARTER, that's SMARTER, to the number 44222. In our previous episode, we shared how to face down your fears, and we uncovered what happens when you do. We heard the incredible story of how our previous guest, Michelle Poehler, spent 100 days facing down her biggest fears and showed you what you could take away from her journey. Now for our interview with Evan. At 19, Evan Carmichael built and then sold a biotech software company. At 22, he became a venture capitalist, and now he runs a YouTube channel for entrepreneurs with over 2 million subscribers and 300 million views. Forbes has called him one of the world's top 40 social marketing talents, and Inc. has called him one of the 100 great leadership speakers, as well as one of the 25 social media keynote speakers that you need to know. Evan, welcome to the Science of Success.
Thanks for the love, Matt. Great to be here, man.
Well, we're really excited to have you on the show today. There's so many things I want to dig into. And for starters, I was looking at one of your bios recently when we were doing some research for the show, and I noticed that you said that the biggest problem that humans face is that we have so much untapped human potential. And I thought that was so interesting because our mission for the show for years has been to unleash human potential. And so I really wanted to start the conversation with that because in many ways, we're on this common journey together to try and help people become unstuck, to help them unleash all that potential that they have, but they're often not realizing.
Yeah, I think people just don't believe in themselves enough. I think everybody has what I call Michael Jordan level talent at something. Like, you're the greatest in the world at something, but chances are it's not what your parents did or what's currently happening in your community or the people around you. And so people fall into 2 camps. One, they don't believe that they're the greatest in the world at something, and so they continue on with their life and never chasing down anything big. Or 2, they do believe in it, but they're too afraid to actually go chase it down. And so whatever you think the world's biggest problem might be, people listening, cancer, great. I think the woman who solves cancer right now is a manager at McDonald's because she didn't believe in herself enough to chase it down.
I love that. Such a great example. So let's dig into both of those things. Why don't people believe in themselves?
I think, one, we're surrounded by people who also don't believe in themselves. If you think about who your parents are and the people at your school and how you're kind of grown up, Are you around people who are living their purpose and absolutely believe in themselves? Like, probably not, which is why successpodcast.com, right? Like, it's why we're trying to change that. You're trying to change that. I'm trying to change that. We're trying to be a voice to say, hey, the people around you, even though they're not living their best life, you can go live yours too. So one is just awareness that it's possible, because most people don't think that it's possible. So just planting a seed can be really important. And then two is having the courage to do something about it. And so the more that you can kind of nurture that seed, right? If somebody's listening to your podcast and they're coming on and every week they're listening and downloading more episodes, if they listen to an episode every week for the next year, they're going to grow. It's impossible not to grow from all the people that you're bringing on and the advice that you're sharing. So if you make Matt a part of your regular routine, you're going to start to think a little bit more like Matt and the guests that he has on his shows. And so most people don't do that enough. If they think they have talent at something and they believe in themselves a little bit, it's in these start and stop moments. I can do something more, but then now I'm too afraid and I fall back. And you have these moments of boldness and courageousness and greatness. And then you fall back to your regular life, where the people who continue to succeed and continue to go off and do great things, they demand that excellence from them on a daily basis.
That's such a great point. And, one of the things that I've found really interesting about your work and everything that you do is the emphasis on taking action, right? Capturing those moments of boldness when the inspiration strikes, because the reality is, even the people who are really successful, they have those moments too where they have doubt, they have fear, they don't know what they should do next. They don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes they feel like everything's falling apart, but they take action despite all that stuff.
Yeah, I think fear is fantastic. I think if there's nothing in your calendar that makes you afraid, you hate your life. It means you're just photocopying the same day over and over and over again. And that's unfortunately most of America. They wake up and just photocopy their life over and over and over again. You know you're capable of more, but you're not doing enough to actually do something. So I've tried to train myself that scary, difficult, hard, afraid, if I hear myself saying that, then I have to do it just because. And teaching yourself to go from idea to action and tying your self-worth to the effort that you're putting in, as opposed to did you get results the first time out? When you can make that shift, because most of us tie our self-worth to the results. Did I get X number of downloads on my episode? Did I get X number of likes or comments or revenue or whatever you're chasing down? And when you don't do it, you feel like a failure. If you only chase down results and you're going to do the things that you know you're going to get a result at, therefore you play small for life. If you tie your self-worth to the effort that you're putting in every single day, you'll end up failing a whole bunch, but accomplishing way, 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 way more than the people around you.
Another piece of that too that you just touched on that's really important is if you want to take big swings, if you want to see big results, you almost glossed over this part that you're going to fail a whole bunch in that process, and you have to be able and willing to fail.
Yeah, and it's tying it again back to I was willing to try. People are out there making fun of people who are failing. Like, I'm willing to try. I'm willing to go off and do it. And I pat myself on the back for trying. If I'm coming on this podcast and I'm afraid and I'm nervous to be on this podcast, one, I'll tell myself, this is going to be the greatest podcast in my life. Like, this podcast is going to be the thing that blows up my career and takes it to the next step. And if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it forever. Right? So overcome the fear by creating a greater fear of future regret. But then two, even if I come on the podcast and I just blank out the whole time and I bring no value and I vomit on my microphone, it's like the total disaster of an interview, I'm still going back, patting myself on the shoulder saying, I'm so glad that I tried. Because if you woke up every day and put out your max effort, you're proud of you, not what people are saying about you. It's an inside game. Are you proud of what you did today, the effort you put out? Because if every day you woke up and you were proud of your effort, even though it means failing a lot, are you proud of the effort in the failures? Because you're going to end up doing such amazing things. Most people aren't proud of themselves because they don't believe in themselves.
What's going on, everyone? This episode of The Science of Success is brought to you by our incredible sponsor, Best Fiends. That's Best Fiends, just like friends, but without the R. I am absolutely in love with this game. If you're looking for a fun way to pass the time while engaging your brain and enjoying some truly breathtaking visuals and a gripping story, Best Fiends is perfect for you.
I play this game all the time. It's a great way to improve your problem solving, learn to see sort of the big picture strategy to plan out your next move, and it's really just a ton of fun in general. I'm at level 80 right now, and I have to say the game continues to evolve and requires new strategies to get through various levels based on your goals. It totally keeps you on your toes, but it really never fails to be a fun experience. The game is also being updated monthly with new levels, specials, and events for players like us to enjoy. Check it out now and download Best Fiends for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of incredible characters. Trust me when I say, with over 100 million downloads, including myself, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is an absolute must play. Now remember, that's Best Fiends, just like Friends, but without the R. Best Fiends, Fiends. Check it out today.
So you touched on this, and many of the things we've already talked about tie into this, but I want to come back to this idea of how we can start believing in ourselves more. Tell me how to do that.
So one, the environment makes a giant difference. So it starts with eliminating the negativity in your life. Who are the people that are bringing you down, that make you feel low energy, that tell you that you can't do certain things? Sometimes you just have to let go of them. Just because you were friends with somebody in high school or elementary school doesn't mean that you should still be friends with them now. A lot of us are in relationships out of convenience as opposed to developing a life for ourselves. We're just afraid of making new friends and trying to get new circles. Those negative people may be your parents. And in that case, you may not want to get rid of your parents, although some people do that, but just limit access to topics, set up boundaries. We don't talk about certain things. I'm not talking about this with you. And you stick to the topics that you know you can not get into fights and arguments about. Once you eliminate the negativity, now you have a void, and people are afraid of the void. We'd rather stick with friends who bring us down because at least we have friends. We don't want to be lonely and have nobody. So you need to fill that void with positivity, like listening to this podcast, like watching my YouTube channel, like going to events and trying to meet new people, filling it with positivity, and then making that consistent. So it's great that maybe you listen to this one episode and you're fired up and crushing it. Tomorrow you're going to fall back. So what are you going to do tomorrow to stay on top of your game? Most people just aren't consistent enough. So when you find a thing that makes you feel bold, you've had moments. Everybody listening has had moments where you feel bold, powerful, confident, alive. What led to that? And then finding a way to put that as a part of your daily routine so you start your day with it. Nobody wakes up. Matt doesn't do it. Austin doesn't do it. I don't do it. We wake up, it's like, yes, today is going to be amazing, right? Like that's not how people wake up. The difference is people have a routine that sets them up for success because you've reverse engineered what is the thing that makes you feel bold, powerful, confident, alive, and you demand excellence on a daily basis.
Such a great piece of advice, and tying that back into figuring out in your own life what makes you feel bold and powerful and confident, and then tying that back into your routines on a daily basis. One of the things, and I'm curious if you've thought about this, that was really and it's weird because I've been doing this podcast, been into personal development for years and years and years, and I made this shift like 6 to 8 months ago of thinking about personal development content less from a form of education, because I feel like a lot of the stuff is pretty simple at the end of the day. Take action, in the face of fear, get comfortable with discomfort, like all that kind of stuff. But it's not thinking about personal development content in the sense of educating yourself, but really switching the context and being like, I could listen to the same thing 10 times as long as it's motivational, and really using it as fuel. And I listen to a certain piece of content or a certain podcast or YouTube or whatever, and then that fuels me to be like, all right, now I'm ready to go crush it because I'm fueled up. And baking that into your life, that was a really big revelation for me personally.
Yeah, and if I could add a layer onto that, I would say baking in service, to feel like you're here not because of listening to Matt doing an interview, but you're here to serve. You're here to try to help other people. And this is something that can help get people unstuck, is understanding that your purpose comes from your pain. That whatever you struggled with the most as a human, where you felt the lowest self-esteem, self-worth, understand that there are tons of people who currently are what you used to be, and they need help. And they could see you as hope, as inspiration, that it's possible, that even though you're not done growing, you're still on your path. Every time you take a step up, you can reach back and pull somebody up to the level that you're at. And so if you can default to thinking about service so that today, I mean, you're sitting there in your studio recording. I'm here in Toronto recording here. We're just by ourselves, but there's an audience of people listening. If you felt like every day the work you were doing was meaningful to somebody, made a difference, was having an impact on their life, that gives you courage and confidence and the willingness to step forward, even though you're afraid.
So let's touch on that a little bit more. I know you've got a new book coming out, Built to Serve, that really talks about how we can find our purpose. I get probably one of the most frequent questions I get from listeners of the podcast are all around that same topic of, hey, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm not sure what to do next. I'm confused. I'm distraught. I don't know where I should be going from here. How do you think about, and what would you say to people who really need help? Because I think everybody is bought in on this idea. Yes, you should find your purpose, but how do you actually, from a really concrete perspective, start to actually do that and really not only discover it, but then live it?
Yeah, I mean, I wish everybody had bought in on the idea that you have a purpose. This audience, for sure, you're not listening to Matt without having bought in on that. But I think most of America hasn't bought in on that yet. So I'm trying to change that narrative. But if you have, understand that the book is called Built to Serve because humans are built to serve. Serving others, helping others hits the same part in your brain. They did functional MRIs on people's brains, and serving others hits the same part of your brain as having food and having sex, which are also both pretty important as humans. And we like giving more than we like receiving. Most people just don't know how to serve. And I found that there's two types. One is a group that likes to serve the world. You and I want to have a big message. We want to impact the world. We want to touch millions and billions of lives. Chances are your audience is mostly in that camp as well. That's the entrepreneurial, big, ambitious people. The other group, though, are the people who don't have a big mission, but they want to serve the 25 closest people to them. People like my wife, like no giant mission, but love staying in touch with people from elementary school and still helping them and showing them love. But if you're not happy, it's because you're not serving either the world or the 25 closest people to you. And whether it's 20 or 25 or 30, just that inner circle. Now, how do you serve? Well, concrete steps. It starts with one, figuring out, I go through a process. That's who, I, how. So who, your one most important core value. So if you had to guess, Matt, like what's your most important core value as a human?
Wow, that's a good question. And honestly, I know your whole big focus on the one word. I don't know that I have a good answer for it. Let's say my one core value would be unleashing human potential based on what we're doing here on the show.
Awesome. So just take potential as an example. Anybody who now you're going to bring on board your company has to believe in potential. You could have the greatest producer, the greatest editor, the greatest website developer, but if they just have the skill set, but they don't have that same belief system as you, you're just not going to get along. And that's great. That's fantastic to know. Like that should be part of the process. You want to be around people. You're bringing on guests who believe in unleashing potential. You're bringing on a team that believes in unleashing potential. You want to have friends, relationships who believe in unleashing potential, right? So even just having that awareness is more than 99% of America. And so if you feel like you're constantly pulled in a lot of different directions, it's because other people have an agenda for your time and you don't know what to say yes or no to because you don't have the rock to stand on, right? Your most important core value, your who, is the rock to stand on. So if it's going to help unleash potential in the world, Matt's in. If it's not, he doesn't care, right? And having that boundary makes it a lot easier to make decisions. So that's the who. The next is the why. So why is personal development so important to you? You've been doing this for a while, right? This isn't your first episode here and what you're doing even before the podcast. Why personal development? Who cares? How did it save you?
I mean, I think for me, I was lost. I was kind of struggling. I didn't know where to turn. And I just picked up a couple random personal development books. And over the course of 10 or 15 years, radically transformed my emotions, my life, my health, my happiness, everything.
So what was the worst moment inside that being lost for you?
Dealing with a bunch of anxiety and depression and fear and not knowing what to do or where to turn.
So that's the thing, right? Like how long ago was that? 10 years ago? 7 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
That's going to fill you up for life. You're going to be 95 years old and somebody who's even around the same age is going to come back who's like in their 20s, feels lost, has anxiety, has depression, feels like there's no hope. They're going to talk to you. You're going to, in a conversation, shift their perspective. You're going to see their eyes light up that now there's hope. You're still going to get a high off of that when you're 95 years old. your purpose comes from your pain. So whatever you struggle the most with, you want to help other people through. Everybody's been through some pain. Everybody's had these moments. And so now you've built this amazing community up, and you've got your podcast and everything else that you're doing. Awesome. In 10 years, maybe it's not a podcast. Maybe Matt's beaming into your living room with holograms and virtual reality, but the purpose doesn't change. That's going to fill him up for life. And it's the same for everybody listening. You can follow the process. Like whatever you struggled the most with, there are lots of people who were like Matt who don't get out. They are like Matt and they never get out. Like that depression and anxiety leads to a lifetime of regret, hatred, maybe suicide. And just that one interaction with Matt could be the flip that ignites the switch for them to go off and make a change in their life. And having that clarity about both those two, like the who and the why, the unleashing potential and helping people who are lost and have anxiety and depression, will never get old for the rest of your life. And I want to help people get that clarity.
Yeah, that's such a great piece of advice. And it's funny, I mean, without getting into it, I can just see in my behavior and the way I react or interact with certain people that there's absolutely things that fit into that mold that I'll just spend countless amount of time or energy on. Even one fan or one listener or whatever, if they have an issue, I'll spend as much time as possible to help them with it. And then I'll be like, oh my God, what was I just doing? But it makes total sense. And then, so the third piece of that you said was how. Tell me how the how kind of plays into that. Or is that where you're talking about the podcast is the how now, but it may change?
Yeah. So how you got out of it is not just some random thing that happened just to Matt. How you got out of it is teachable. So you got out of it by studying success, by reading certain books. Well, it's no surprise that if you go to successpodcast.com, there's a link at the top that says bookshelf, right? Like how you got out of it is teachable. And so you've got your books, you've got your podcast, you've got all the advice that you're giving. And a lot of people think, well, that was just a fluke how I did. It's like, no, that's something that you can now show other people the process so that they can get out of it as well. And so, on your journey, you've learned so much, you've developed so many skills, and helping somebody launch a podcast, for example, will be fun for you. You have a lot of knowledge and domain expertise, and you can really help somebody who's launching a podcast. But if somebody comes up and they're facing anxiety and depression and they feel lost, and you can spend 15 minutes talking to them and you see the eyes light up, that's going to fill you up so much more than just helping somebody launch their podcast. So we're built to serve. We love helping other people, but there's a big difference between just holding the door open for somebody or helping them with their podcast or buying the coffee for the person behind you in line, these little moments, versus actually deep down, like seeing that person's life change because they're going through the thing you went through and you just inspired them.
That's such a great way of framing it. And I've always thought that podcasting is kind of the medium that I fell into and happened to be doing, but it was always the vehicle and not the end game. I didn't approach it from the perspective of, oh, hey, I really want to start a podcast. And by the way, it's going to be about this. I was super into this stuff. And then someone was like, hey, we should start a podcast and talk about it.
Yeah. And if you're mission driven, like you're going to want to unleash potential for the rest of your life. There's no way you're 75 years old and you're like, you know what? I'm done with unleashing potential. I'm just going to sit on my rocking chair for the next 20 years. Like that's not going to happen. There's no way. That's not going to be Matt. That's not going to happen. But not being tied to the mechanism, right? The how is going to change many times between now and when you reach, 95 years old. And so being able to adjust because all you care about is unleashing potential and helping people through anxiety and depression and people who feel lost. And in 2020, a podcast is a fantastic way to do it. And in 2030, it's going to be something else.
This episode of The Science of Success is brought to you once again by our incredible sponsors at Brilliant. Go to www.brilliant.org/science of success to learn more. For a limited time, the first 200 of our listeners to sign up get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Brilliant is a math and science learning platform, and their mission is to inspire and develop people to achieve their goals in STEM learning. I love it. The courses Brilliant offer explore the laws that shape our world and elevate math and science from something to be feared to a delightful experience. What I love about Brilliant is that they make all this learning so fun and interactive with puzzles that feel like games but have tremendous teaching and value with them. Brilliant offers a wide range of content like interactive courses on topics from mathematics to quantitative finance, scientific thinking, all the way to programming. On our show, we dig into the importance of learning how to learn and building frameworks for problem solving. That's why I can't think of a better sponsor for our show than Brilliant, because they help you do just that. Go check them out today. Brilliant is giving away 20% off their premium annual subscription to our first 200 listeners to go to www.brilliant.org/science of success. Go today and get started. Again, that's www.brilliant.org/science of success.
The other beauty of this system that you put together, and really a lot of your content and your work, is taking these principles and making it extremely simple and actionable, right? So if you have one word as a core belief, that sometimes you think, oh, I got to figure out what are my values, my beliefs, and put together this, half-day seminar and workshop and do all this stuff. But there's a real beauty in making it super simple to really crystallize it.
Yeah, and the book goes through the process of figuring out what your who is, your one word. Whether yours is potential or something else, it's not going to be the opposite of potential. Like, you're not that far off picking something like potential. And so I think momentum is just a thing that most people are missing. So finding your purpose doesn't have to be some crazy 18-year journey with meditation and journaling and all. Like, you can figure it out right now and start making momentum immediately happen. The biggest thing missing for most people is just lack of momentum.
And your contention is that finding your purpose helps you start to build that momentum.
Believing that you are here to have an impact. You already know it. Everybody knows the love that they feel when they've helped somebody out, but believing that you could have a bigger impact and help people who are like you. You may not believe that you can save the world yet. There's a lot of people who may not feel like I can go and have this life-changing mission, but there's a lot of people who also have what you have. And if Matt was just getting started and just got through the early stages of now he's not in the depths of depression, and just seeing you help one other person will light that spark. If you look at AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, they have their 12-step program. One of the 12 steps is you have to be a sponsor for somebody else. Like, the change doesn't stick unless you're serving and helping other people who are behind you. And so for you to continue your journey and me to continue my journey, we have to give back and help. And so when you figure out what that thing is that you struggled with, and then you see yourself helping somebody else, that gives you energy, that gives you momentum, that gives you hope, that helps you believe that you can continue and do more.
That's a great piece of advice. And the whole idea of having to help somebody else in the journey, the AA example is great. And even if you look at things like the way they do training in med schools and that kind of stuff, it's all about teaching other people, and helping other people is a great way to really internalize that learning, internalize those things. And so that's a really powerful piece of advice.
Yeah. And it's not that hard to find a lot of people who are struggling with what you struggled with. Like, if you're helping people with anxiety and depression, how many people in America have anxiety and depression and feel lost? Like, a giant crap ton of people. So how you then end up going through it. So for you, it was learning from successful people in books, and that started giving you the spark. For somebody else, maybe it was going to the gym and working out. For somebody else, maybe it was picking up soccer, right? Or learning how to play the piano. It could be any number of things. But if it was learning soccer, that's the thing that got you more confidence and got you having friends and changing your life, then you could go and become a soccer coach and start a soccer business where you're not just teaching people how to dribble. You're teaching people how to change their life and have more confidence, right? So it's having a purpose-driven business, purpose-driven life, because you're built to serve, and how you got out of it is teachable to other people.
Such a great piece of advice. And I love the soccer analogy because you can just see it and feel it, that I can envision this soccer coach teaching kids and instilling all this wisdom and values and everything. And it's not about the soccer. It could be karate. It could be art. It could be anything. It's really about helping people build confidence and passing on what you've learned and helping other people on the journey.
Your brand is an emotion, and the emotion should be your who, your one word. So anything that Matt touches has to be through unleashing potential. And so even if Matt launches a course on how to start a podcast, something super practical, tangible, he's got experience, he knows what he's doing, it's all going to be wrapped into unleash your potential. You have insane potential. You have a message. I'm going to help unlock that. Here's a tool to use. It's called a podcast, right? And so same thing for any business. I own the largest salsa dancing school in Canada, maybe North America. And it's about belonging. It's about giving people a place to come to where they can belong. And the guy who I brought in to run it, that's his most important core value, because he never felt like he had anywhere to go where he could belong. And so, yes, you're going to learn steps. You're going to come out of the classes learning how to dance salsa, but we're not really teaching salsa. We're teaching you how to belong and gain confidence and feel better about yourself.
Amazing. So, Evan, what would one action step be that you would give for listeners to start concretely taking action on the things we've learned about today?
I would try to find one person who is struggling with the thing that you struggled with and offer to help. Maybe you know somebody already. Maybe you just post to Facebook and you tell your story. Say, guys, I've never talked about this, but for the past 20 years, I actually struggled with depression. And boom, 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 boom. And you tell your story and see what comes back. And then hop on a call or go for a coffee with somebody who is currently struggling with that and just feel your heart light up. And for some people listening, that may be the first time ever that you felt your heart light up so much. Go find somebody who is struggling with the thing you struggled with and help them.
Great piece of advice. And Evan, where can listeners find you and all of your content and all of your work online?
If you want the book, just go to Amazon, easiest spot. Otherwise, Evan Carmichael on any social media platform, and I'm there.
Well, Evan, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing all this wisdom. We packed a lot into a 30-minute interview. It's so many great pieces of advice and tactics and strategies for the listeners.
Appreciate you, man. Great questions. And I'm pumped to see you continue to expand your journey as well. Thank you for having me on. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much for listening to The Science of Success. We created this show to help you, our listeners, master evidence-based growth. I love hearing from listeners. If you want to reach out, share your story, or just say hi, shoot me an email. My email is matt@successpodcast.com. That's matt@successpodcast.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I read and respond to every single listener email. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should sign up for our email list today by going to successpodcast.com, signing up right on the homepage. There's some incredible stuff that's only available to those on the email list, so be sure to sign up, including an exclusive curated weekly email from us called Mindset Monday, which is short, simple, filled with articles, stories, things that we found interesting and fascinating in the world of evidence-based growth in the last week. Next, you're getting an exclusive chance to shape the show, including voting on guests, submitting your own personal questions that we'll ask guests on air, and much more. Lastly, you're going to get a free guide we created based on listener demand. Our most popular guide, which is called How to Organize and Remember Everything. You can get it completely for free, along with another surprise bonus guide by signing up and joining the email list today. Again, you can do that at successpodcast.com, sign up right at the homepage, or if you're on the go, just text the word SMARTER, SMARTER, to the number 44222. Remember, the greatest compliment you can give us is a referral to a friend, either live or online. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us an awesome review and subscribe on iTunes, because that helps boost the algorithm, that helps us move up the iTunes rankings and helps more people discover the science of success. Don't forget, if you want to get all the incredible information we talk about in the show, links, transcripts, everything we discuss, and much more, be sure to check out our show notes. You can get those at successpodcast.com. Just hit the show notes button right at the top. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Science of Success.